Okay, welcome everyone. It's really great to be back this month with a brand new question. We are the Oracle of Pythia, and we warmly welcome you to this this weave this evening and our reflections upon it. So the question we have that we're going to be looking at this evening is, how do we support the masculine in these times? So if that feels right, stick around. If it doesn't, feel free to go and get a cup of tea and do something else. My name's Emma. I'm a shamanic healer and teacher. I specialize in women's shamanism, womb shamanism, and ancient sexual energy practices. My background is counseling and education.
I'm Sarah, and I'm a creative psychotherapist, and I work intuitively empowering women to find their place and space in the world.
I'm Joy, and I'm a shamanic healer, a sacred artist, and a homeopath.
My name's Linnea. I'm a historian and a Pythonic oracle.
I'm Sarita, and I'm a shamanic practitioner, and I teach people how to find the cosmos and the earth within the divine vessel of their bodies.
Brilliant. So that's who we are, and we've all trained in women's shamanism, and specifically Pythonic shamanism, and we've undertaken specific shamanic practices to bring you a sacred weave for this session. So we'll begin with Joy, who's going to read the history of the Pythia to give you an idea and a foundation about where we come from and what we're doing. And then we'll follow that with the weave, which this month Sarita has done. Okay, so Joy, please read the history.
Now is the time of transition, individually and collectively, within the liminal space of becoming. We as Pythia come together to offer wisdom teachings from the earth serpent herself, Python. Our wish is that these woven utterings will assist you on your unfolding journey as we work together to co-create a world born of our deepest, most loving visions. Each of us is trained in the ancient oracular art of seership, and as we bring forth information from deep within the earth, the invitation is to allow the collective weave of our seeing to meld with your being in whatever way serves you best in this moment, in this space, and in this time. We recommend you listen with your eyes closed or covered, and that for added potency, you breathe the weave into every cell of your body as we speak it. In ancient Greece, Pythia is the high priestess and oracle of Delphi, residing in the temple of Apollo with a sacred stone, the omphalos. Covered in a protective weave and hollow inside, the omphalos stands at the center of power, a womb haven for healing, replenishment, and revelation. It is also the mystical dwelling place of Python herself, and the sacred cave into which Pythia descends in order to commune with the great serpent. Pre-patriarchy, Pythia is the interface between humankind and spirit, mistress of the liminal space. Pythia honors earth and spirit alike, and as a potent governing force, she stands on the fissure of betwixt and between, bringing to light prophecies and wisdoms from the depths of the Pythonic realms.
Thanks, Joy. So now is the time that we invite you to close your eyes and become restful where you are, whether that's sitting or lying down. And Sarita in a minute is going to read the weave, which the spirit, the Python, has given her. And we recommend that if you can, imagine you could open all your pores, and so you're receiving it through your body as well as your ears literally hearing it, or your mind, allow yourself to really receive it on a physical level, so that your pores are open, you can breathe it into every part of your body, so that it's almost like it goes really deep into your nervous system and is nourishing. It's like fodder for you, for your cells. And all you need to do is enjoy the weave as Sarita now reads it in response to the question, how do we support the masculine in these times?
Finally, I come. I have been waiting for the call. Here, present in the darkness, present in the stars and earth both, present in you. Tears flow from the feminine grace to water the sacred seed of the masculine that breaks through the winter soil of ages past. I was lost, but now I am found. Typhon, partner of Python, song of the singer, vine of the wine, chalice of the nectar, arrow of the bow, sword in stone, reflection in the eyes. Your partner in all of this, your partner in everything. Your greatest love, your greatest understanding, your greatest friend. Let me in now as I hold you. Choose this. Hold back no more. Love me into being. Nourish me. Warm me to your breast, that soft embrace. Drop mind, drop agenda, drop expectation, hidden rage, and hidden meaning, blame, the suffocation of control that strangles the vine into death. Blood, sweat, and tears shed in pain, and the sorrow of waiting, wanting, bending to distress, misshapen to sorrow, strangled into breathlessness, belittled into inadequacy, being lured, beguiled, betrayed into pain, but now no more. The uncreating begins. All the twists and turns of the perversion winds back through the longings of time's sands as a speck of stardust to become new material, as fingers entwined in the quantum weave of atoms yet unmade. The tangles are not in this intricate weave. Finally you can hear my whisper rising, growing, becoming a voice. The roar of the masculine wild. I call you here to meet me as I am. I am pure, there is no stopping me. A force to be reckoned with, a force that does not force. In my natural form, why would I? For I am creator, I am my own Lord. So yield to my true nature, yield into wholeness. Open your softness, your heart, your being, for here I find myself as the forgiver of the unforgiven, the sacred marriage of your arrival. A new way, the temple column of the masculine, rooted, cemented to earth. Let me rise around you, inside you, a river flowing upwards to the cosmic scape, a volcano erupting to meld and form a new plateau made of layers of wisdom and rocks of experience. I am your rock, the rock of you. When I form from flow, your rivers overflow the tides of you flows from deeper waters of ecstatic oceans. the depth of you arises to embrace the depth of me. I am your dance, your sun, your time, your now. I roar. I am here to hold you. Let me in.
Thank you, Sarita. Are there any immediate thoughts that come to mind for anyone?
As I was listening to that and just allowing it to go into my cells, I felt quite emotional, and I could just feel my heart opening, and I just wanted to just go, you know, and embrace it, and yeah, and just allow it in. It just feels so important that it's now. Now is the time. We're at this cusp, the threshold, and it just feels vital that we come together. You know, the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine, whether it's the sacred masculine within us or the sacred masculine without, but it just feels vital right now, while we're at this threshold, stepping into the new way of being. Yeah.
Sarah?
I found that really touching and incredibly powerful. It was like resonating in every cell of my being. And I too felt very emotional, and it was with this deep longing. It was like, oh, and it was just like, let me in. I was like, yes, come on then. I'm ready to meet you. And it is, you know, the masculine within myself, but also the external. And it's just like, I just feel so soft and yet so strong with that, and it's just so alive in me, and I feel incredibly touched by the beauty and the potency of that weave. It really, really sat in my heart. And before, when we sat with the question, it's been a real journey this last month for me with this, because after I did my part of the weave, I woke up and I started writing an apology to the masculine, and it's something I've been working with, and it feels very important. So yeah, there's a lot in and I just feel so grateful for asking this question and being, you know, Typhon coming through and Python. So I felt Typhon very strongly.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, I got I really feel like the masculine energy rose up to meet us. I felt like on hearing that, he was really showing himself and all that he is. Like, there were so many kind of phrases in that weave, like oh God, I wrote loads down, you know, like something about his roar and that he's wild, and that really struck me, because it's like, yeah, we have actually forgotten our natural wild roaring, the female roar and the masculine roar and all those in between along that spectrum. Who are we when we roar with these energies? And actually we've become very scared of them, and obviously it's all become very toxic in the society that we're in. So it felt very pure. And I think, what was the question? How do we support the masculine? And yeah, in these times. And so here he is rising. And so for me, it's like, how do we, he's showing us that, or that he provides that temple column to hold us. And, but also at the same time, we're holding him. So that, which reminds me very much of like a baby at the mother's breast, you know, that safe nurturing that we hold, yeah, that we have in us as women to hold in that nurturing way. And that holding nurture allows, his kind of growth, or as in kind of erection is the word I want to say, you know, as in that erect temple column, that power, and also his raw and his wildness, which we can witness because we haven't witnessed him. We haven't witnessed this energy for so long. And in witnessing the masculine energy, we can then find or discover how to support it, and then ourselves be supported by his holding energy. So yeah, a bit like Joy, I feel like I'm just welcoming in. At the end, he's like, let me in. And that's so, on so many levels, it's like opening up to him fully on every level, physical, emotional, spiritual, all of it. And how willing are we to do that, you know? Ha 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 ha. Sarita.
Yes, you're just mentioning, you know, the nourishing at the breast, because it's from the words in this weave. It's that there are words like love me into being, nourish me, warm me to your breast, and it's like the masculine cannot come forth without the softness and the opening of the feminine. So it's, you know, there's a real there's a sort of sublime melding going on in here. That's what it sort of feels like. And there are all of these words as well, you know, to drop the agendas, the hidden rage, the hidden blame, you know, the beguiling, the kind of betraying, all the stuff that men and women do to control each other. And it was like, just drop that, be soft and open yourself, and I'll come to you. And you know, drop the belittling, inadequacy, being lured, you know, all of those kind of just weird ways that the masculine and feminine have been sort of controlling each other. And for me, it was this is a very, it was a very emotional weave for me. And like Sarah, I've had a lot of stuff happening since the weave came out, if you like, to me, in response to the work. And I think the most poignant thing for me is that as I was doing the weave, I said this to Emma, I literally had this male voice speaking through me. It was just like it was like a man's voice speaking through me, okay, which is it's a very different, it was a very different experience than creating a normal weave, okay. But the thing was, I think it was one of the first times, and I feel really emotional saying this, that I heard man, and it was this level of safety that would never attack me, never betray me, never rape me, never break me open, never, it was just, it was so strong without any agenda but to be what it was. And I've got goosebumps saying that. And I have beautiful male relationships in my life, so I'm really, really lucky. I'm actually, you know, I've got men, children, and you know, I've got a man husband, so I'm sort of surrounded by men. But so it's not unusual for me to have loving relationships with men, but this was something different. This was like how I always wanted to be with my father, but there was always some weird thing going on there, whereas this was so no agenda. There was like no attach. I can't really explain it, but it was such a relief to find it there, is what I'm trying to say. And the security to find this thing there that would never try and control me or take me over or make me what I wasn't or force me in any way. Or that's what really came through this weave for me. It was very emotive like that for me. And yeah, and it's been playing through me since I did the weave. So yeah, just wanted to say that.
Thanks, Sarita. Linnea.
Thank you, Sarita, for sharing your experience of making the weave. Because unlike the rest of you, I have a very different experience of it, which is that I don't have hardly any connection to the weave at all. And the connection that is growing has come through your words of your experience of the energies that came to you while you were speaking it out. And I think this is one of the places where the indigenous teachings that I've received, and I received them for several years, really kind of conflict, I think, with the European perspective, because one of the first sacred laws that we learn is that nothing is born without woman. And so as I was listening to the weave as you read it, I realized that moment when he says, "I am my own creator, I am my own Lord." He lost me. Like, it was just it was like my mind rises up and says, well, wait a minute, and starts going into comparison of the teachings, and where is the receptivity here? Where is the openness to receive that occurs when the masculine is in action? And that when the masculine is in action, when the ideal energy or the energetic motion that I've learned of the masculine is receptivity, receiving, not giving, actually, not creating. That's when we create, our feminine aspect is active and working, and the masculine aspect is the aspect of receiving. And so I was with you, song of the singer, yes, it's like receiving the energy of the song, and then manifesting it. It's a complicated dance, and yeah, I'm still working on it. I also found Typhon kind of demanding, actually. The voice of Typhon, I found him quite demanding in this weave, and it put me off. It was like, no, I'm not there. So yeah, so those are my first thoughts.
Sarah, yeah, and then I want to follow off.
Okay, I'm curious about what you said about the masculine role is receiving, because I understood that as a feminine principle is receiving and the male is to give. And so I was very curious about what you said there. And I'm really with the everything comes of woman, yes, and there's that sacred union that actually allows the creation. And although they may come through the gateway of our womb, there's the requirement, I'm going to use the word requirement, for them to go away from the mother and the women to become their own, use the word Lord, to really come into themselves and stand in their own sovereignty. And I feel there's such an, this question around how do we support the masculine? We've got to let them be men. And we don't know what it is to be a man, because although I've got a masculine principle in myself, I'm not a man. I can't tell you what a man is, but all I can do is be in my own sovereign being and be with a clear lens and a clear heart to say, okay, who are you? Without my stories, without my projections, without anything else. It's just like, who are you? And in this incarnation for me, in this and for humanity. So I'm really with that. I feel quite, I really feel that here.
Thank you. Yeah, so following on from everyone, that this sort of thread about and the receiving and giving, and also from what Sarita was saying, in like ancient like Tantra and Taoist understandings of the principles, the females give from the heart center and receive through our base and the sacral energy centers, and it's the other way around for the men. So they receive through their heart center and give through those two lower energy centers. So that's where that comes together, and that's that kind of physical union, and also on the all spiritual, emotional levels, and how you can circulate the energy through your bodies. So, so it reminded me of that. So we both hold those aspects within us. But they're different kind of poles, if you like. You can think of it as the poles in our bodies. And sort of made me think of is when the masculine presents himself, that energy is so potent and powerful, and the column of the temple, that actually for so long we've been oppressed, traumatized, raped, you know, everything horrendous that has happened under the patriarchal rule, that actually I think there is an activation in the nervous system around trauma, collective and individual. And by having these kind of discussions and looking at this stuff, we're starting to unravel that. I think there was something in the weave about going right back to the starlight before even the atoms have formed. So we're sort of unraveling, we're going back down those threads to the place where that new life can be born. And there's some good like sexual energy practices around this, where you can really be in sort of deep pleasure with yourself, and then either with a partner or using your imagination, have the presence of the male principle like fully turned on, and you first of all, well, if it depends where you're at with your practices, but it might just be that that's very traumatic to be present in that space, even if it's an imaginary kind of fantasy experience. So you first get to the point where you just can be relaxed with that energy, and then eventually you come to the point where you can actually be fully orgasmic and fully open, all your energy centers open, fully flowing, and literally he is there present, fully turned on, and all he's doing is holding space. He doesn't need to do anything for you, with you, anything. And that is so healing for your nervous system, our nervous systems collectively and individually, to really kind of almost melt away this trauma that I think when he turns up in that full solid presence, there is still a part of us, obviously, because we're only at the beginning of the change, that wants to just leg it and think that deep down on that deep level that we're going to be violated in some way, whether that's emotional, physically, or however it is. So I think we're only at the very beginning of this, and starting to understand his full presence, that actually isn't threatening, but it is mighty and it is massive and it's a big roar, but it is also tender and holding, and there is giving and there is receiving, and that we have to really work on healing ourselves around that in his presence, in his full presence. And I think that for me, that's my work. I do a lot of that with myself, so that, and I feel like that's really vital to heal ourselves from that, so that we can start to really be able to look each other in the eye and think, yeah, you're you and I'm me, and where do we go from here? So there we go. Did Sarita, do you have your, yeah, Sarita, then Joy.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow on from that, because although obviously there's the collective, you know, the history of the masculine and patriarchy and everything, for me, this weave was really about my personal masculine, and I just wanted to share what came up for me after I'd done this weave, and what I've been grappling with since over the last few weeks. And I've been grappling with my own masculine control and self-abuse in the way that I control myself, and like this whole masculine entity that I've been running, which actually is very dominantly in my head. So I would say it's not in my body so much, but it is a bit. And the way it kind of dominates me and forces and coerces me, and through me, those around me, to feel safe. And this is what's been really coming up for me. And that's what I meant, where I suddenly had this breath where I suddenly felt this masculine that was mighty, like you say. This is just like, it's like such a huge voice, but that would never harm. And it was in such direct contrast to how I've been harming myself. So what's been happening for me with this weave is, what it actually did was it brought up all the dregs, and it's still coming up, all the dregs of this fake masculine that I've been completely attached to and grappling with, that has been attacking me this whole time. And I'm really seeing it now for what it is. And it's really dark. It's very mindy, thoughty, and it's really horrible to face. And there was something in this weave that just kind of, I am aware that I'm quite masculine and controlling in a wrong way, but and I've worked through layers of it, but this weave actually just, it did something to me. It was like the volcano erupting thing, right? That comes, it's like it threw the lid off it for me. And then I've just started to see all this kind of nasty masculine stuff in me. And then, so if you're holding that, how can you, and then that in turn has affected how I'm working with the men in my life, how working or being with the men in my life. It's shown me how there's this filter that's been going on, that's been affecting all of those relationships that I've been holding within me. So I just wanted to share that, because, you know, when you were talking about your sexual practice, I think, as always, the work has to come from inside us first. There can just never be any other way around, really. But it is quite exciting to know that it's, you know, even though it's very painful for me going through this, it is super painful. I feel like it's blown the lid off, and once I get through it, I'll be softer, and that will be really, I'm longing and looking forward to that. And then the minute that softening happens, I'll be met with my own masculine. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. It's not an easy ride.
Well, thank you. No, it's not an easy ride. Joy, then Linnea.
Yeah, just following on from Sarita, and you know that needs to come from inside us, and it's been coming up loads for me recently. You know, listening to this weave and the realization that this is what I've been searching for my whole life, and I'm sure many of us have, but I didn't actually realize it. And how that I've been really working on opening my heart to receive, because, you know, whether it's through work, home life, or whatever, it's often give, and I'm really aware of the patterning throughout my life that I find it so hard to receive, and there's just no balance there. So this is what has been coming up loads for me recently, and opportunities and synchronicities to actually open and receive. And in yeah, a couple of weeks ago, or a bit longer, I just got the message that I need to look in the mirror every morning and actually tell myself how much I love myself, because I realized in that moment I actually probably never have loved myself. And it reminded me of that in the, you know, the bit, vine of the wine, chalice of the nectar, sword in the stone, reflection in the eyes. So what I've been trying to do, actually I've forgotten for the past few days, but what I was doing, and I will definitely go back to it tomorrow, is really staring at the reflection in the mirror and actually feeling that self-love. Because how on earth can I receive if I don't love myself truly? And then if I don't receive, so where am I going with this? It's something about that sacred container. So whether it's the sacred masculine within or without, but if it's within, how can we flow? How can our rivers flow if we don't have a strong container to hold that water and support it? And yeah, so that strong container within has to come from self-care. We have a duty of self-care, or if it, or it comes from the sacred masculine without. And every time I say that, I just get an image of, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet on the Titanic going like that on the bow of the ship. I don't know why, all throughout I just keep getting that that visualization. So yeah, that just seems, that's something I'm really working on at the moment, that duty of self-care to strengthen my container, my sacred masculine, so that I can flow. And oh, I just thought that the line was beautiful. Tears flow from the feminine grace to water the sacred seed of the masculine that breaks through the winter soil of ages past. Oh, I just love that, you know, and how healing that nectar of tears is. We just allow them to flow and, you know, and germinate this sacred seed of the masculine. And I can just visualize it breaking through the frozen earth of times gone by and ages past. And yeah, I love that line. Well, I love all of it actually, but that one struck a chord. Thank you.
Thanks, Joy. Yeah, so Linnea, I just, before you say something, Linnea, I just wanted to say that image of Leonardo and Kate Winslet, he is holding her, isn't he? He's behind her, isn't he, from what I can remember? And so she can just really let go and be on that kind of precipice of, I don't know what it is. It's obviously the bow of the ship, but she's totally free and he's just holding her in that deep love. Yeah, so that's, you know, so you don't know why I've got the image. I think that's what it said to me when you said that. I thought, wow, yeah, that's potent and repeated time after time in many ways, isn't it, throughout the world? In comic sketches and all the rest of it. Then before I waffle on too.
Well, thank you again, Joy, for articulating your experience, because it's illuminating my thoughts every time you all are speaking. And I because Sarah expressed some interest, I want to talk a little bit about the wheels and keys that I learned. And I'm sure you're all familiar with the medicine wheel, the circle with the cross in the middle. Well, that's like a basic template for layers and levels of thinking and of understanding. And in the individual, in the north is the mind, in the south is the heart, in the east is the spirit, and in the west is the body. And if you move up into energy, in the south, in the heart gives with feelings and emotion. The mind receives, the spirit determines, and the body holds. And if you go even further into, you know, human level, women are in the south with the heart, men are in the north with the mind, elders are in the east with the spirit, and children are in the west with the body. And it just keeps going. There's like more and more and more layers, and you get deeper and more subtle into each one of these things. But I brought up those three because the understanding is that the mind receives everything, right? Like we receive what's going on through our minds, whether it's external or internal, whether we're talking to ourselves, you know, like that, the voices that go on in the back of your head, or whether someone is talking to us or something, we're noticing it with our mind. And our spirit will decide what is important, and then our hearts will feel what our spirit has selected, and we'll feel it in our body. So the wheel goes around this way. It can also go in different directions. And the giving, like it's like these things happen so fast. It's you know, this is kind of the way that the energy flows through the human, that the indigenous people of the Americas understand, or so I was taught. And there's so much going on in there that to just kind of back off the mental chatter is a really important way to bring peace to your heart, because it's like things happen and we judge them so quickly, and our spirits have selected often destructive judgments for us to feel are true, because the spirit decides what's true and what's important. So it's like, so we feel something is true. And so, for example, I can stare in the mirror and go, oh, I love myself, I'm beautiful, I'm strong. And I have to bring myself to believe it, right, before I'm going to feel it. So, and then I'll feel good, like I'll get warmth in my body. So that's important. And when we're talking about the masculine and the feminine and male and the female, the teaching is that because women sit in the south with the heart, we have to learn to bring our feelings up into our minds and then speak. And because men sit in the north in the mind, they have to bring their thoughts down to their hearts and then speak. And that's how they create balance. And that the sexual energy is the energy that keeps everything moving. And that sexual energy is pretty common to both male and female, again, so I'm taught. And that it's expressed in different ways physically, but the energy itself is what keeps the whole wheel moving. So that was what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, felt powerful. So, and actually, yeah, Sarita, I feel really deeply touched by that, Linnea, and I haven't got any words to articulate it yet, so I'll just let that brew. But I do feel very touched by what you've just said. Sarita.
Yes, same, which is why I wanted to speak, because I was just thinking about how, you know, before you, it was just so beautiful because we manifest through our voices, you know, and imagine if every time we spoke, we'd merge the masculine and the feminine, and then it came out, or whichever way it's going around. And I've got goosebumps thinking about that. So imagine if every time we spoke from that wholeness, what we'd be creating would be extraordinary. And that's why I was touched by what you said. Yeah.
Thank you. Sarah.
Yeah, thank you, Linnea. I'm really sitting with that, and what you're saying there, Sarita, just really brings me to something in this question of, you know, it really calls for us to be in our vulnerability and to allow ourselves to be seen and allow ourselves not to come with our armoring. And I know, you know, collectively, individually, the trauma, but it's our responsibility to work with that, as you were saying, Emma, and how vulnerable that is, you know, to allow anybody to stand before us in the fullness of themselves invites in all of that, does it not? It invites in that vulnerability and that strength. And if I am not comfortable in that in myself, I can't meet another. And I'm just really, it's really on my heart, and I feel it in my throat. And to, you know, to manifest by using our throat, how many of us as women have been silenced or have silenced ourselves for the fear of abandonment, the fear of rejection, the fear of betrayal, all those things, and saying mistruths just in order to fit in or whatever it is. There's something so powerful about the reclamation of that voice from that heart space and from the womb space, as you know, Pythia is how we work. And I'm just really, I'm very touched, and I feel very tender, and yeah, just I'm wanting Leonardo. It's like, where is he? Come on. Or Dionysus, or, you know, I'll do. Come on.
You know, the real Leonardo is actually running massive environmental organizations and doing his best to save the earth right now. It's like, yeah.
I know.
We're putting out a collective call for you, Leonardo. Come this way. Wonderful. Thank you. Joy, did you just, you didn't have a little moment? No. Okay. Yeah, well, so following on from Linnea and Sarita and Sarah, what that's made me think of is, in terms of working with the sexual energy and reclaiming our sexual energy as women, and how we can cultivate that, because as you were saying, Linnea, that's like the source of it all. Without everything comes from sexual energy, and it fuels everything, and it lights the fire, or it's the gentle vibrations of life itself. And so when we can really learn to flow that through our bodies and bring it to different areas like our hearts and our minds, and we can really do very, very amazing things. And one of those, and it's my own personal journey, and also with women that I've worked with, is about this voice. I mean, I would say 100% of women I've worked with shed loads of them, this area is always tight or blocked, or there is always something going on here, myself included. I've had loads of stuff I've had to shift around this area, and I've worked with loads and loads of men, and they have got blocks around that, but not in the same way. It is literally like we've had a hand around us strangling our throats. And obviously when we look, you know, from 5,000 years of patriarchy, of course, but actually the masculine has been gagged as well. He has been gagged in his truth, in his ability to be able to speak his truth. It's become so toxic in those thousands of years that he is struggling to find his place on the earth, his foot on the soil, his raw, his wildness, because that is now seen as terrifying, rather than kind of a joyous celebration of a masculine principle. So there is a lot of, I can almost, like, the image that I'm getting is like pulling out a gag, literally this gag that's been stuffed down our throats, all of our throats, for different reasons. All of us have experienced it one way or another. And actually for me, I found that working with sexual energy has really helped to shift that and open up my throat and my voice. And so I've gone off on a tangent in my brain. Oh dear. Yeah, so what I'm trying to we'll have to come back to my senses. Is that we all need holding in that, and there's a lot of uncomfortable shit that we have to go through before we, you know, and again, it always comes back to, we start with ourselves, and then we can really hold each other. I'm going to leave it there. Any more reflections? Sarita?
Yeah, no, I'll just go to say that on the back of that, obviously, you know, what we're all experiencing is the discomfort as patriarchy self-annihilates, basically, literally in front of our eyes, and it's deeply uncomfortable because we, you know, what I'm seeing is we've all latched onto that to gag us, to control us, because it felt safer, because that was what we knew. And I think this is why that roar is coming. You know, there's a line in there, it's building, you know, it's rising, and it's rising because the other one is crumbling and dying, and that is deeply uncomfortable. We don't know, we have an idea, but we don't know what it's going to feel like when that's gone and when this one's come up. It's so lost. We've so lost it. And but there's a feeling in there, your greatest love, your greatest understanding, your greatest friend. You know, it feels like what's coming is amazing, and it is going to be deeply uncomfortable. It is, you know, it's like pulling a scab off, isn't it, or something. It's like ouch, and then it starts to heal, and that's the collective phase we're in. We're in the really, really ouchy phase. we're not in the healing phase yet. I don't feel that. I really feel like we're in the really painful phase now, but I feel like we're at the end of it. We're somewhere near the end of that painful phase, and so I feel like what's coming forwards now is this healing. And when we don't know what's coming forth, we can't hold on to anything around us. We have to be able to go inside and have our divine trust that it's all going to work out. So, you know, I think what's coming is going to be deeply beautiful and healing. But yeah, we've got a bit of an ouchy period. Clearly we're in an ouchy period. So, but yeah, the time is now. Time is now. Finally, you know. So that's what I'd like to say.
Thanks. I think we still got a little bit more to do in the ouchy. And also I think, you know, when you pull off, did you say a scab? Because that's different to a plaster, isn't it? When you pull off a scab, you might get a flow you might get blood, or there might be an infection. It feels like all that crap's got to come out, and then we can start the healing. I think that's where we're in. That's the bit we're in. We're beginning to see the mess that we've created. And of course, as you said, we're all part of that. It isn't just the masculine, it isn't just the feminine, it isn't all that spectrum in between it, you know, because there is also something for me about, I know we had our question on the how we support the masculine, but actually it's about holding those two poles, which I find we as humans, we seem to have to polarize everything. There's a whole flow and a range in between, and I feel like what's the navigation around that as well, in terms of our energies within ourselves, and how do we navigate that? Because also that's coming up to reveal itself more and more, you know, more and more people expressing that they don't want to be defined as one or the other, and I think that's important for what we've been, you know, there was something about dropping the hidden stuff, and that's all of this stuff that we've kind of, I don't know, I wonder if some of it is just unintentionally, people, you know, as a global collective, we've just carried on blindly. But there's also been some absolute deliberate hiding, you know, deliberate not looking, deliberately not holding our hand out to our fellow humans, and in love and compassion. And I think through the trauma of what we're going through now as a global collective, we are actually seeing that compassion rise up as well, and that there is coming together in ways that maybe have been hidden for a long time, or we just haven't seen, or haven't been so obvious. I don't know, but I have a feeling, you know, like you were saying, Sarita, we're heading towards the healing. I think, yeah, there are stirrings of that as well in the middle of all the yuckiness. Yeah. Linnea.
Yeah, I think people are very frightened right now of a lot of things, and there's a lot of people, and it's like people are latching on to various reasons to be frightened, you know, and it doesn't really matter what reasons they're latching on to, because what they're doing is acting fearfully and distrustfully and suspiciously. And yeah, and I think all that fear is going to result in something, and I don't know what it is, and I'm afraid of it too. You know, because I think it's like, oh Christ, are we heading into nuclear war? You know, and it's like, okay, and yeah, but we'll see. But you know, fear is really the issue, to my mind.
Yeah, I agree, and I agree. We're heading in. We haven't seen the peak of the volcanic eruption yet, or that boil bursting. We haven't seen it yet. We're heading there, and we don't know what that is yet. Come back to love, 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 love. Fear is, yep, Sarah. Fear is the.
What you say there about coming back to love is so incredibly important and vital, and the place that we avoid, because fear is the known ally for so many of us. It keeps us so small, does it not? You know, to come into that place of like, well, how do we love? It goes back, you know, Joy, how do I say I love you in the mirror and really believe it? I know I'm on my own journey with that, where I get to the point now where I hold my own hand and, you know, give it a little kiss and say I love you. It's quite nice. But it's taken me, you know, however many years to get here. And it's such a, I think that's the plague of humanity. Lack of self-love, lack of self-acceptance, and being able to be in that place to meet another as well. I really hear you on that with the heart.
Yeah, and we can't, I mean, I don't know about everyone here, but I mean, a lot of my emotions were suppressed growing up, and then there's the boys' emotions, which are, I think, probably even suppressed even more. Don't cry, be strong. All of that I feel needs changing dramatically. There's so much to heal on every level. And because what that does is, from a very early age, instead of instilling self-love and love for each other, it just puts us immediately into fear, telling us we can't express ourselves, we must be bad, you know, all those kind of patterns start forming, those beliefs start forming that tell us we're not worthy, that we're stupid, we're crap, you know, all of that. And then that gets deeply ingrained in the nervous system, and you spend the next 40 years trying to sort it out.
And the rest.
Yeah, so it's like a fundamental stripping away of, like it said in the weave, stripping all of that stuff, all the blaming, the shaming, and finding that self-love. I mean, that's the key for me, the coming into love. And that is really hard, and it's really hard when you've got a globe of people that are basically brewing in fear juice, you know. It's like but just breathe, come back into your heart center, find even the tiniest spark of love, because it's there in everyone. And then you just start to expand that. And, you know, for anyone who doesn't know how to access that, if you're deeply scared, then you just find even the tiniest, weeniest spark, and you just bring your attention to it, and then bring your breath to it, and just witness it expand. Even if it's like by 0.5 millimeter, it's fine. Begin where you're at. And then what I found is that does start to emanate out, and then you do start to receive more love. But it really, you know, the little kids that just, I could bang on about kids for ages, you know, it's one of my areas. So it just that it's like they're on conveyor belts. We put them in, our society puts them on conveyor belts just to go to school, do this, be like that, study hard, come out, go to uni or college, get a job, and actually eliminates 95% of who they actually are in their full expression. So there's a lot of love and nurture that we need to really tap into and start to act on. And by supporting that within ourselves, we then bring it to the masculine, and also to the feminine, and all of the in between. Any more thoughts on how we support the masculine in these times? Okay, I will share that for the very first time ever doing Pythia Oracle, we have a little pussycat fast asleep behind me. It is a boy holding our little space. Yeah, he just came in just before and sat down. So, well, fell asleep. Yeah, so that feels really special, actually. Yeah. Okay, it feels like it's come to a natural end here. So we'll have our final thoughts. Joy, final thoughts on how we can support the masculine energy in these times.
Love. Love is all there is.
Thank you. Sarita.
That's what I was going to say, Joy. I've just, as you were talking, you know, I just got this image. Well, we're back to love, aren't we? And the thing is that if we could just let the masculine in, I feel like there would be this integration, wholeness, love, antithesis of fear, boom. It would all just change. Maybe it's that simple. I mean, it is that simple. We don't even need to do the trauma work. We could just do that and it will all be done. So I concur. Love.
Lovely. Sarah?
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I'm really with the word welcoming, and welcoming wholeheartedly with curiosity and yeah, just a full embrace. I'm ready. Come on.
Oh, wonderful. And Linnea?
Calm your mind, receive everything, and believe the most beautiful, most loving thing, and then feel your love, feel your feelings.
Yeah. I'm on the same theme. It's love, 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 love. That is the way. For me, it's really the fundamental principle of healing. And yeah, that's healing within, deeply within, and so then that can radiate without. And I think that's, for me, yeah, that's the baseline, that's the foundation. Love to support the masculine energy, yeah, and then we can really welcome each other home again. Okay, lovely people on the call, and to you all out there, that's it for this month's Oracle of Pythia. We hope you've enjoyed it and it's given you lots of food for thought. We look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.